It's what is today? Today's the 28th of November, 2025. Um, Good to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Let's see here. I'm John Lee, St. Louis Real Estate Investors Association, here with my wonderful wife, Laura. And I see there's a couple other people come in. I can see a couple faces. Victoria, good morning. Got Christopher, good morning. And I can tell the other guys are smiling too. I just don't see them yet. There's Ruth with her smile. Good to see you. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. And let's see. I don't really have a whole lot of announcements. We don't have a main meeting with the RIA in December. We'll pick it up again in January, but we will meet every Friday here. And let's see. I guess, Laura, you can go ahead and do your disclaimer if you want. We can just get started.
That sounds good. Good morning and welcome, everyone. First, I'd like to do a bit of housekeeping. Feel free to unmute yourself when it's your turn to speak. Please be mindful of everyone else by muting yourself while others are speaking. You're welcome to put any contact information that you want to share into the chat. We meet here to share deals, look for deals and solutions we have in need with our real estate. We are not your financial advisors, attorney, or accountants. We do not endorse or recommend any specific solutions or contractors here. You're advised to do your own due diligence to your own satisfaction before you invest. The first Friday of each month is Ask the Attorney with Miss Catherine Davis. Our meetings are typically recorded, so only share what you want others to know.
Thank you, Laura. All right. Does anybody have anything they'd like to start us off with today? Anybody working on anything? Anybody looking for stuff? I see Eric joined us with his smiling face there. How you doing, Eric? Looks like you're not in California or Germany. So
he better send me you ain't heard from him today. Between Hawaii and Japan. And we're about to.
all right. You got something there, Eric? Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Anybody got anything for sale? That's always a good place to start. Anybody got anything they're buying? Looking to buy, I guess I should say. Couple things I noticed this week. Did anybody see that the city of St. Louis now has changed the lot sizes on your buildable lots down to 1,500 square feet? It used to be a minimum of 4,000. Did anybody see that this week? Read an article on that the other day, which kind of surprised me. I wonder what kind of house you could build on a 1,500 square foot piece of property on a lot. I mean, it would have to be really small, and that's not what they say, not the ADU, the accessory dwelling unit. So not like a shed, I guess, or something like that. It has to actually be a house, but it still didn't. You still have to pay attention to like the historic district and all that kind of stuff. So I think that'll be real interesting, and I just wonder if it would actually maybe cost more to build a smaller house to keep it in the dimensions, because you still probably have setbacks and things too. I mean, I didn't look at all the details. Anybody else see any of that? I just thought that was interesting. So we'll see what happens with that. I know they got a lot of vacant properties in the city, and since the tornado, I don't know what the update is. But before that, last year we looked at a lot of those with the one attorney who's kind of sells some of that kind of stuff, and there was over 20,000 properties, vacant properties for sale in the city of St. Louis, and 16,000 had dwellings on them, or some type of dwelling. I know Laura and I went and looked at a bunch of them, and they needed way more work than you could ever get out of most of them, at least the ones that we looked at in different areas. We looked at a few different neighborhoods. And it's really funny how they have it too, because down there on some of the neighborhoods, like right off at Delmar, they had some 400 and 500, 6,000, $100,000 homes. And then the next block would just kind of look like a war zone. And that's the kind they were trying to get you to improve on. But the way we looked at it is the cost. I don't see how anybody could make any, even make sense out of trying to do some of that. So maybe that'll change. Maybe it won't. I don't know. We're going to be looking at some stuff coming up here this next year in some of the areas because we have so much need in St. Louis for housing. There's a lot of homeless and, with the veterans. And then, of course, there's all kinds of stuff. I know, Yolinda's and Anna's kind of told us from St. Patrick's Center told us about some of the stuff they need. And so as things go forward, I don't know if that'll get better or not get better. I know the cold season's coming up right now. So anybody have any thoughts on any of that? Any wholesalers in St. Louis? Do anybody do anything right now as far as wholesaling goes?
I'm not wholesaling, but I just actually I'll be closing on a flip from a wholesaler on Thursday next week. So I got a property. It's a wholesaler that is pretty well known in St. Louis, I guess. They're always shooting out tons of properties, and sometimes the deals are good and sometimes they're not. This one happened to be it was a property that's pretty much already updated. It just needs some cabinets and, maybe some new vanities and things like that. But it's a little confusing why the homeowner had it, why they fixed it up just to give it to a wholesaler. So I'm prepared for any major things that might be wrong. All the systems are already all updated. This checking the sewer lateral is going to be the first thing that I do, because that might be the only thing that has an issue. But from what I can tell, you could literally just buy it and turn it around and put it right back on the market. That's how updated it already is.
Wow, what area is that in Victoria?
It's in South County, so it's just off of, Lindbergh by Lindbergh School. So
Okay.
obviously in a great school district, everybody loves Lindbergh.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'll be closing next week and probably have it for maybe a month and put it back on the market.
Okay, so you're actually buying the house from a wholesaler and then you're going to resell it. Okay, very
No,
good.
yeah, put it on the market. Yep. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
flipping it.
Okay. Well, you can be interesting, and if you don't mind, you can let us know how that goes. As
Oh
time,
yeah.
we're always interested in learning all that stuff because that's, we all run into stuff. And I know Gene and Lynn a couple weeks ago, I believe you were here for that too. And some of the stuff they ran into. And I've been looking at, in fact, I just started making some little videos, kind of chunking it down from Jason Schroer. He's the St. Louis County Inspector. We had him about a year and a half ago at our main event when we were back at the Moolah Shrines Center. And he gave us all kinds of good nuggets so much. It's really hard. Most people, at least I know, same for me, don't really sit down and watch over a 2 hour video, but you'll watch a 2 or 3 minute video at a time with a little advice in it. So we're kind of breaking that down for, in some things like that. And because he gives us a lot of those, like just things like the integrated permits. I know Lynn talked about that. And what he was saying back then, I watched part of this last night. It's just if you think you're going to do anything, just go ahead and get the integrated permit right off the gate, right out of the gate. It'll save you money and time. The main thing is time because Lynn talked about that. Is once they weren't planning on opening up the wall, but once you do, then you got to get an integrated permit, and that brings in another whole set of circumstances. Now you've got to get back on the list, pay another fee, and you got to wait for them to have time to come out and see, and visit with you, and kind of, do the inspection and give you the permit. So just that right there, that I thought was just such a golden nugget of information. Just go ahead and get the permit right out of the gate. Just do that. And then even if you're not planning on opening the wall, because that'll just save you time down the road. So I thought that was good advice. So we'll be having some of those coming up. I thought over the holidays is a good time to do them little videos because people don't have as much time. I know we're all busy doing stuff. With family and especially if you got projects going on like you're going to have, Victoria, you're probably not going to sit around and just watch football and movies the whole time. So,
No, this is a good time. It seems like I'm always getting my flips around this time, which is great because, even though we've got the holidays, um, as long as you can plan around that, for permitting and, because they're usually out of office for like 2 weeks around Christmas time. So you always have to plan for delays with any permitting there. But, this house, it's all cosmetic. knock on wood. That maybe we'll update the cast iron stack, but it looks like it's in good condition. The electrical panel's old, but doesn't really need to be updated, but maybe we will. It's just, I think I just got lucky. I literally was the only person that saw this house. I don't even know how that happened, but they almost canceled actually they canceled the showing because I guess they didn't have any interest. And I was the only one that showed up. And they didn't even have the person there that normally shows the houses. So I just asked the homeowner if I could look at it.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I was the only one putting in an offer. So I feel like I got super lucky. And, I think I don't know if investors would be interested in walking this property before I work on it because it's pretty much already updated. But, if anybody is, I would be happy to host a walkthrough for anybody that wants to come look at the house and see what I would do to it, even in an almost fixed up state. So I can definitely host that. And then I do have my walkthrough that I'm still planning with the house in Florissant. Right now, I'm just waiting for the homeowner to get the open house scheduled so we can plan around that and I can have the walkthrough there. But that house came out so amazing. I'm really proud of that house because of what I was able to accomplish with such a small budget, and it does not look like that budget was spent. It looks like 3 times that budget was spent. So, but yeah, I'm happy to host these kind of walkthroughs just as like training moments for people or, lessons learned. It's always great to tell things that happen and how you pivot because pivoting is essential when you're flipping. Like there's no property that you're never going to have to pivot on. There's always going to be something that comes up. So I'm always happy to share that because I think all of us investors love looking at houses anyway. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's great to go walk through, doing a before walkthrough and then an after walkthrough. So,
Yeah, you brought up some good points there. You pivoting is a great example there because you do always run into stuff. I don't care what you think. There's no such thing as a turnkey property. I think that's one of the biggest myths next
mhm.
to pa easy passive income and good renter in place. Those are the other two myths I think are out there when you go to buy houses.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is some great learning. We can all learn from each other because they say as a wise man learns from his mistakes, but a genius learns from the mistakes of others. So we can, if you just
Yeah.
pay attention, we all got 2 ears and one mouth. Of course, we've heard that a million times, but it's so true. A lot of people just go in there wanting to, say what they would do and things like that. But if you just look and see what happened, you can learn a lot. So very, very good
Yeah, and
point.
there's even things that I've helped with my client with the house in Florissant where, I advised on certain things and the contractors had a mind of their own and did their own thing. So these are things that I can point out to people of what you should pay attention to, when the contractor doesn't follow the drawings that were given to them. Because that, I mean, I've done multi-million-dollar properties and it doesn't matter the cost of the project. Contractors almost rarely read the plans or they miss things or they don't look at the details that were left, from a design point of where the tile should start, where, it's just it's a thing in the industry overall where contractors just want to kind of do their own thing even when they're told to do something else. So it's a great way to walk through a property and just point those things out so that you can keep them in mind in the long run. And, for me, even though I've been doing this for so long, there's still so much to learn. There's scenarios of properties that I've never had to experience. So one of the things that I like to do, I always ask questions. If there's something that I don't know, I ask the contractor, well, why do you have to do this? What does that mean for the, because I want that knowledge. My goal is to always know more than the contractors because that helps me do a better job of what I do. So I would say don't be afraid to ask questions, even if, the contractor's like, well, why are you asking? It's for your own knowledge because that only helps you in the future. So,
Yeah, contractors can make a big difference. That's for sure.
yeah.
One way or the other. Dana, you and James, did you have a question there? So you got your,
Yes, good morning,
Yeah. Good
everyone.
morning. I got one too.
We apologize. We were having some technical difficulties, so we didn't hear a lot of that. Where I wanted to know, Victoria, where was that house you said that you were the only one that bid on it and all of that? We missed all of that. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
so I got it from a wholesaler that sends out a lot of properties in St. Louis, and the location is in South County, so it's like the
Okay.
Lindbergh 55 area.
And you stumbled up on it. Okay. Okay.
I,
Thank you. Yeah,
yeah,
we
I
missed a
just
lot. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I just happened to be the only one that went to the showing when they had it, and I got lucky. It happens.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a blessing. And James had a couple of questions.
Yeah, well, I got a couple of statements. Good morning, everyone. One thing is that if you all know of anyone who needs a dryer, and I have two washing machines and a dryer. One is out of the rental that I had, and the other one was our personal. And I think it might just need a new drain hose on it. I'm not sure, but the dryer is perfectly fine. It's run on a 220, so if you know anybody, all they got to do is come get it. All they have to do is pick it up. Also, looking for anyone know of a contractor who is pretty good at evaluating damaged properties and new construction. Please let him get him in touch with me. I guess we can put my number in the chat.
Yeah.
But it's 314-749-2821. And another thing is, two more things is, could you give us that CPA? Somebody gave us a CPA's a name and number, and I don't seem to have mine. I don't know if Dana has hers, but we can get that name again.
I think John
Who
had
gave
given
that?
us someone. I think you did, John.
I did.
I think it was several meetings ago.
Yeah, CPAs
Yeah,
are
we
a
can't
tough one.
find
I don't know that I don't really recommend any because I don't. I mean, I might have brought the name up. I know we had somebody a few years ago that talked, um, but I
Okay.
don't know. Does anybody else have any recommendations?
Okay.
I don't
Maybe
really
it
have
was someone
anybody.
else. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So
and
okay, you gave your number. Let's see. Victoria, did you have any contact information that you would like to share? Also, just while I'm thinking about it before
Sure.
the
Yeah,
replay.
if anybody wants to contact me, my business number is 872-444-6681. Or if you're interested in touring any of the properties, whenever they might be, you can always text that number. You can text your email address to that phone number, and I can add you to my lists.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And then James and Dana, you guys have a washer and a dryer, two washers and a dryer, and then
Yes.
you're also looking for a contractor to do some, I guess, estimates, some evaluation for you.
yeah, still trying to decide if we're going to try to save this property in the city or we're going to take it down
Okay.
and go back new.
Do do you have any idea what it needs by any? Um,
You name it.
okay. Did it have storm damage?
Yes, it did. It
It
needs a
did.
roof. It needs the back done. It needs some work on the sides. Then it needs total gut on the inside. Because I know, city's gonna make you do all that stuff, so you just total gut it out on the inside.
Yeah. And whereabouts is that? What part of
Isn't
town?
North City right at Kings Highway in Vernon?
Mhm.
It's
In Vernon?
about
Okay.
it's about what about 2 or 3 blocks north of Delmar and Kings Highway.
Okay. All right. Anybody has any recommendations for them? And a CPA also. Um, yeah, this is actually probably a good time of year to shop for a CPA before January hits. Because
Yeah,
once January rolls around, I know with our CPA, you don't want to talk to him till probably May. Right now is a great time though. He actually called me the other day when we got something in the mail, and I sent him a picture of it, and And he actually called, and that's very rare. But
Yeah.
he's got time right now. He wasn't around. He wasn't in town, but he was on vacation. I think they take off for about 6 months and don't want to hear from nobody.
Mhm.
So,
Oh, well, since we're kind of quiet today, John, I just finished your book, The Billionaire,
mhm.
and I was reading you have a lot of great information in there, especially about putting the ads out. But I know most of those were vacant land. I'm assuming there was a couple of them that had maybe a property on it. But we're kind of in a dilemma. We're trying to get our ad written up so we can put it out there on Facebook or whatever. And we're kind of like, for lack of a better term, stumbling around trying to get it done. So we just wanted to know if you or someone else out there could maybe give us some suggestions now or later on how to get this thing done so we can get it out there.
What are you trying to sell?
We have it's a four, no, I mean, 4 bedroom, 2 bath, single family residence.
Okay. Yeah, the main thing with ads is you want to have a good headline so people will open it. That's real important. There's a site that I use that appeals to people emotionally. It's aminstitute.com. And I use, of course, I use the free versions of everything, but that's a good one. It'll kind of tell you. And you want to keep them, they say under 9 words, but the shorter you make them, the better. And then in the ad itself, you just want to kind of describe a little bit to make it a little more appealing, but you want to have a call to action on really want people to get a hold of you. That's the main thing. A lot of people these days want to do things through email and text and all that kind of stuff. But really what I found is still the same old stuff. The best way to deal with most people is to talk to them. Because you can find out a lot. People tell you one thing, but there's always at least 2 stories to everything. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
On what they're looking for and things like that. Now, if you're looking for somebody to buy it to fix it up, that's a different conversation than if you're looking for somebody to sell it at a
No,
retail
well,
place.
we look at try to do owner finance on it. Basically, that's what we're
Uh-huh.
looking at.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, owner financing and then have somebody else fix it up.
Well, it's fixed up.
It is fixed up. Okay.
Yeah. So I
Mhm.
mean, you might do a little something here and there, but it's nothing major to it.
Okay.
So we're just looking to, maybe try to own a financing route.
Yeah. Did you go to the website I had in there, that hourtopower.com?
I went to it and we watched
Yeah.
one video.
Oh,
I
it was a
think.
couple of videos that we watched.
Did we watch it?
Mhm.
Okay.
There
Yeah, we
should be
went.
one on the headlines in there that's a pretty good one. It kind of cuts to the chase on
Okay.
on that. Maybe kind of view that one if you haven't done it, or review it. And there you can get into really deep with a lot of this kind of stuff here, though. But I've found the simpler you keep it, the better. And you want to have some good pictures. It depends on where you advertise it. Some of them don't want you to even put your contact information in there. But what I've done is I mark up my photos and then put my phone number or my email address right on the photo, because photos are something that doesn't really show up. Another thing that works pretty good is you can make really kind of really brief videos these days. In fact, I'm getting ready to I'm getting ready to go ahead and start advertising some of my lots. I actually came across, somebody asked me about them not too long ago. I actually came across 14 I didn't know I still had. So I need to put them up for sale. So I'm going to do that over the holidays here.
No
But that's the
problem.
thing with the videos. And once you get a little template, you can go back and change them pretty easily. I like to put the map. Of course, this is for property, not for homes, but I like to put the map in there and then some pictures of the area, some wildlife pictures and things like that. With your house, what you'll want to do is show kind of like the front of it and then the back if you can, and a couple of highlights if you've done anything. Like in the, I don't know, living room, any updates, kitchens, and things like that. Don't put too much in there, but you want it because really your whole objective is get them to call you. That's your call to action. You want them to call or text you or whatever, however you want them to get a hold of you. That's the main thing you want to do with your ad. But you got to have a good headline to begin with. And heck, I don't know if I don't have it here. If I can find it before we get off, I've got we did a little workshop on it not too long ago, last year, I think it was. on some of the bad ads that are out here. We just went right down on Craigslist in one of my groups, and we just started looking at them, and that was pretty amazing on how most people don't write good ads. That's why they don't get good results. I mean, that's not to say anything bad about it, but we're not taught that stuff. It's stuff you got to learn. I don't know. I see
Okay.
Ruth there. Ruth probably knows more about ads than I do. She's probably done some things over the years that she probably knows how to get a hold of some good people. You got anything you want to share with us, Ruth?
Strike all your positive points. Anything that's positive about the property. That's the big things you want to get in there.
Okay.
Don't
Good
over
point.
exaggerate. Just so people aren't disappointed if they finally do come and look. So just be do the pot. Don't emphasize don't say anything about negative. Just look for all your positive things.
Thank you.
Great point.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, guys.
Mhm. Great. Let's see. Anybody else got anything here?
Well, hello, John.
Hi, Eric.
I know you talked earlier. I had some difficulty in my on my camera and everything. That's why I was in and out. I think I heard you saying about me from California. Actually, I was there a couple of weeks ago. So actually, I'm going back in about 3 weeks.
Okay.
So
Are you going there before the Christmas, I guess?
yes,
You're going-
that's the best time to get in and out as far as the airports.
Oh, okay.
Because right now, during the Thanksgiving thing, they had a lot of delays. And plus,
Yes,
there's a lot of places snowing right now.
yes.
But I do got a quick question because I think I overheard you saying something about some things. I've seen some stuff in the city myself. Do you happen to have is there a listing of those properties you're talking about, or you just drove by there? Because that's what I did. I drove by some places down there, exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, Peter Hoffman was the attorney. And he had a list. It was quite extensive. I don't know. Let's see, where would you get an updated one at all? Um, my suggestion would probably be just to drive in the areas that you want to look at and write down some of the addresses and then look them up and see who owns them. If you find some completely vacant properties, which are easy to find, a lot of times you can find out who has that. Some of them, I know LRA was the land revitalization. They were gonna, I think they were getting put out a new list if they haven't already in. And we could probably, I know there's people, I don't see them here today, but there's people that deal with that. We could probably find out from them. There are a lot of properties though in the city of St. Louis. And I know with the storm that we had, I keep wanting to call it a hurricane, but that's what it kind of looked like. But it was a tornado back in May. I know there's a lot more because there's just a lot of them. I know they've extended the money too for the people that are homeless. And so I know that we still have a lot going on in our area with all that. So are you looking to get a place in the city to fix up? Is that what you're asking about, Eric?
Well, I'm just looking. If the deal sounds right, it might be a possibility. I'm just looking, So I
Mhm.
always look for deals.
Yeah. Well, this is a good time to get some free properties. People that'll just give them to you because taxes are all due in our area coming up here at the end of the year. And there's people that, cannot or will not pay their taxes or fix up the properties. And with the storm we've had, it puts a lot of extra things on the market right now. So this is a good time, and this is my opinion, but I've gotten a lot of them over the years for people just to give you their properties. And even with taking over payments, a lot of people still have payments on some. And the deal has to make sense to you, though. It has to be something you can actually deal with. In fact, I'll be looking at probably at some in some of my downtime in the next couple of weeks if I have any downtime. I say that, and I always have big expectations, but things come up, and it's actually busier. This is a great time of year for real estate, though. Victoria brought that point up. I think it's one of the best times in the year. A lot of people take off and think, oh, after the first year, I'll get back into doing stuff. And I noticed that even when I was a mortgage broker, this is one of my favorite times to get stuff done because people need extra money because they have, because taxes are due. I mean, I don't know if you started getting your tax bills yet, but we started getting them in different counties. Actually, the one from Taney County came in October, which kind of surprised me. We got it before November 1st, and usually November is when they start looking at them. So, which I thought was very interesting.
It is a
But
good time. I think I actually got lucky on that property because everybody's out of town.
yeah,
I mean,
totally agree.
and there's actually been from other wholesalers, there's houses that have great profit margins that are sitting because a lot of people are out of town. So if you're a hustler, now is the best time to be looking at these wholesale deals because you might be the only one like me that shows up to the property and makes an offer. So it's a good point too, John, about how I didn't even think about that, how people might want to sell their house because they don't want to pay the taxes, but that's a great point.
That's when I get people to give them to me. I mean, people always laugh at that, but I've gotten a
It
lot
makes
of
sense.
free
Yeah.
homes over the years, and this is one of my favorite times. Now, if you go look on the websites, because one of the things that we do a lot, like with St. Louis County or St. Louis City, you can look at individuals. Everybody looks like their taxes are due right now, so you got to take that in consideration because they are. Even if they paid them, I know the county don't timely update a lot of the stuff. Okay, in fact, some of the smaller counties they'll take 6 or 8 months to even update them after you pay them the first, before the first of the year. So right now you got to take that into consideration. But the ones I like to look at are the ones that are 1 year old that they haven't paid their 2024s and are 2023s because they're not even ready to come up to the tax sale till they're 3 years behind. And most people start looking at them when they come up on the tax sales. And in Missouri, it's 3 years behind. You come up to the first year tax sale. Well, I found that if just 1 or 2 years they're behind, those are the people that really they don't know what to do. Because usually if somebody isn't paying their taxes, there's other things going on in their life, you know, that there's stuff going on. And the tax people are just another bill collector in a lot of cases because they're in the money business, not the real estate business.
Where are you looking when you're looking for these properties? Are you driving and finding these properties and then looking up the taxes, or how are you finding
You
these
you
properties and
can one of the things we do is we just pay attention everywhere we drive. You always look for the properties that look like they're the rental properties or the ones that are maybe not maintained as well. Every neighborhood has them. I don't care what the dollar amount is. You can go anywhere in nice neighborhoods, you can find them. That's one way to do it. I don't do that anymore because I don't want to just drive around because it's time consuming. But when we go out, we look for them. But you just go to like St. Louis County's website, and if you know a certain block you want to look at, just look up that street, and it takes a little time. But look at everybody on there. Just look at them one at a time and see what their tax status is. That's a great place. You could also see who's owned it, how long they've owned it, and things like that.
yeah, so
But
there's not like a separate website because I know there's so many websites now that you can use where you can find out this information. But I did that actually not too long ago. I was going to look at a property from a wholesaler, and when I was driving down the street, I happened to see two houses that had, the grass was 3 feet tall and the trees were all covering the house. So I wrote down the addresses, but yeah, I was planning to. I don't know if you have to do a skip trace or, I actually just need to check probably just the tax records to start. Like you're
start with
saying.
the tax records, see who owns it. Some of the people now, when they get behind on their taxes, they don't want to be found. So you got to do a little bit of searching for them. You can do script traces and all that, but that all costs money. What I do is I don't spend any money on anything unless it really works well for me.
I'm
There's
with you on that one.
TruePeopleSearch.com is a good site to find out stuff. You can find out even some of their emails, relatives, possible relatives, where previous addresses. I found out a lot of people that have moved when they get divorced. Divorce properties are usually good, especially if they've been making payments. And this happens so much. And I don't think enough people look at this kind of stuff because this is where you'll find bargains, and this is where you'll take over payments. They've been making the payments for 6 months. Through their proceedings or whatever, their settlements, one person get the house, but they can't afford it. Things happen. Once they start getting behind, this is the kind of properties people will give you for just strictly taking over payments. I've gotten many of them like that over the years, and nice properties in nice neighborhoods. Now, sometimes what I like to do is not start making payments for 90 or 120 days because that gives me time to collect money from the new people or whoever I'm selling it to and gives me a little cushion. But if you're looking at a property that where people are behind in the payments, you don't always have that luxury. So the deal has to make sense. If you have to go in there and make up a couple of back payments, that's a very good strategy to do. It just that's a way you can walk into a property without qualifying for it. You just do like a subject to their mortgage is basically what it is, but you can just take those over. And but the deal has to make sense. Is it going to cash flow for you? You don't want to just take the house because you like it, unless you want to move into it. Of course, that's a good strategy too. But that's a good way to, I think it was Renee was talking about it. Was it last week or the week before about she can't find a house in her area up in Boston? Well, I guarantee you I could find one. I could find somebody because I'll guarantee you 6 or 8 months ago, somebody got divorced and now the dust is settling and they got a problem with payments. I'll guarantee you somebody's out there. And not just to pick on divorced people, because there's other reasons. People get transferred. There's deaths in the family. People inherit properties and they may be from out of town. There's all kinds of reasons this strategy works in. But go to St. Louis County website is actually a pretty good one to go look at their tax histories on.
Yeah. I actually did that with this house that I'm closing on because I happened to just ask the homeowner a couple of questions, like if there were any issues with the house or anything. And she's like, well, I'll be honest, we're getting a divorce and we just want to be done. I just want to move on.
Yep.
So I actually went to CaseNet and I found, first of all, I found the homeowner who owned it. Then I double checked on CaseNet to see if there were any filed divorces, which I didn't find. So I don't know if she was being honest or not, or it could have been filed in a different state. Who knows? But I did do that at least to just see who the homeowner was. And then I followed up with looking online for any cases for divorce. So I'm hoping she was honest with me. So we'll see. But it's an interesting point because, yeah, it was a great house. And I'm like, how is no one here? How am I the only one here looking at this house? And I don't know if it's because investors are assuming if a house is that much fixed up that there must be something wrong with it. But you're exactly right. Maybe it is just a case that they're getting a divorce and they just want to be done with the house. They don't want to pay the taxes anymore. They don't want to deal with the utilities and they just want to get rid of it. So,
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff like that. We all have problems at different points in our life.
yeah.
And really, as investors, the way to look at it, just be a problem solver. That's really all there is to it. Even if the deal doesn't make sense, if you just leave it on a good note, you'd be surprised how many times people call you back down the road. I've had that happen a lot of times. And Bill Bronsick the other day, he's an attorney out in Colorado. He brought up something I hadn't heard in a while. It was pretty funny, but he says buyers are storytellers, and let's see, sellers are storytellers, buyers are liars, and attorneys are disruptors, or lawyers are disruptors. So, which seems to make a lot of sense in a lot of cases. So anyway, he's an interesting guy.
I think we forget that, like you just said, everyone has a different scenario going on in their life. So something that I might not do might not be the case for someone else. So would I put a house that's partially fixed up and give it to a wholesaler? No, I wouldn't. I'd fix it up and put it on the market, but someone else might have a different scenario that they just need to get out of. So I think we forget that that everyone is so different and there's so many different problems and that we as investors are finding those problems and trying to find solutions for those problems. And so, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, the first signs I ever had made up, and this goes back over 20 years ago now, and it's still the best one today. You just have your band of signs or whatever, any kind of signs you use. It's just, and you can run ads like this. We buy houses, cash or take over payments, and then put your phone number on there. That's the best one I've ever used, and it still works today because people will do it both ways. And I've had many people when I used to put it in front of, on the window of my truck when it was parked out in front of the house. People say, I've been looking at your sign for months. And now all of a sudden, my cousin's house came up. They're getting a bad divorce. They don't know what to do. They can't fix it up. They need, they still got a loan. I mean, you get all the stories. Another thing you were talking about, Victoria, was with the house, and you noticed, while you're driving by some houses that we had some growth and needed
Mhm.
some cosmetic stuff. Talk to the neighbors around those houses. I found out more information from some of the neighbors because we find somebody that's been there in the neighborhood for a while. They know everything, the history about the house. They can even give you the way to get a hold of people in many cases because they've been entrusted because we were good friends with them at one point, and just things happen. You'll hear the whole story.
It's true. Yeah, I've even done that with houses I've looked at from wholesalers. I've gone to the neighbors and be like, "Hey, what do you know about this house?" And
Mhm.
the nosy neighbor person is real. They all know everybody else's business. So
Every neighborhood has one, I guarantee you.
yeah. And I look pretty innocent, so people are usually willing to talk to me. So
Well, a lot of times they'll come out too, though. What I've done in many cases is just walked around the house real slowly, looking around. Maybe you have your notebook or something, and wait for them to come out. The thing that
yeah.
I like to do is carry dog treats with you, because a lot of the neighbors have dogs, and don't walk up and feed them to them, but throw them about 10 foot away on the other side. And the dogs, even if they're growling at you, they'll go over and get it.
Oh
And
my
I've
gosh,
made
that's
friends with
funny.
with pit bulls after a short period of time. I mean, that's just something. And somebody taught me that years ago, looking at houses. He said, I don't own a dog, but he had this big, huge bag of dog treats. What I do is I just buy them at the dollar store. And even though the dollar store now is $1.25, you can get the chicken. In fact, the one pit bull we had next to the house over in Hazelwood, it liked the chicken treats. So that's what I bought. And but you can get different ones, and it doesn't hurt to carry them with you. So, but just
That's
have them in your
smart.
pocket when you get out of the car.
That's a good idea.
And in fact, some of your, we were talking about that at St. Patrick's Center. Some of your tenants, your best tenants are the dogs. So keep that in mind too, and be nice to them. So, Dana, you and James, you had
Yeah,
a question?
John. Just I don't know how often you guys have gone to the city site, but it's been upgraded quite a bit over the years, so it's pretty comparable almost to the county, where you can go to neighborhoods. If you're familiar with the different names of the neighborhoods, Jeff Vanderloo or Penrose or whatever, Deville, whatever it might be, and you can look up properties there, and they have pictures also. And also, when you go and look up individual properties, a lot of times they'll have on there not only who the owner is, but also if there were permits pulled or what work that was done on those properties. So you got a little bit more information when you go and look at it. Now, obviously, if it was 2005 and you go in there and don't expect it to look like it was just done, but they do have that information though. But that's another starting point. I like going to the city site. And then they'll tell you if the city owns it, so you know where to go. If you're going to go to LRA or to an individual.
Do you know what that site is, James?
St. Louis City, I don't know if it's St. Louis City.gov or whatever, you kind of have to pick around to get the right site. But once you do, they'll have maps of the properties, overhead maps, and show you where the vacant lots are, what's property that's still there. They have all that information there also.
Very good. Good information. Thank you.
Yeah, if I come across again, I'll look it up. I'll have it next week maybe, and then I can give you the exact. But just try St. Louis City. Start out stlouiscity.gov and go from there.
Okay. Yeah, and that's one you may be able to find on that Netter online when you go to the map there
Correct.
and look at the city, because I know the city has a separate sites from St. Louis County. They're totally different entities, so they they
Mm-hmm.
they might have it there. Dale Sweet, the attorney that deals with he deals with the auctions and things like that. He connects you to a lot of stuff. I don't know if you guys aren't on his list, I would recommend it, because even if you don't go to the auctions, we personally don't go to the auctions, but it's a great source of information to get from him and get and find out who's coming up. And I like to get a hold of people before they go to the auctions or after it didn't sell. Those are my two favorite ways. If the city takes it over, the county, that's a different story. Because city of St. Louis and the county of St. Louis, I personally don't like to deal with them, but there are other counties I really like to deal with the over-the-counter properties. But the people are the same everywhere, and we kind of talked about that. Some people think, in other areas that, the houses are too expensive, things like that. Well, my experience is we're all people and we have some of the same problems. It doesn't matter where you're at. So if you just look at it, don't worry about where the decimal points are. Just look at it as solving the problem because people want to live in just about every neighborhood and there's ways to solve those problems. That's what I found over the years. Somebody wants to live there, and we used to pay everything, and even some of the fix up and pay all the back taxes and all that stuff. I rarely do that anymore. We'll just pass that on to somebody else that wants to be the end buyer because there are people out there. Even if you got to pay, 3 years of back taxes and start fixing it up, that might be a lot better deal than putting 10 or 20% down, on a place and getting traditional financing. There's all kinds of creative things you can do like that. And it goes back, just be a problem solver. What's the problem? Don't worry about how much you're going to make on it necessarily, but worry about how can I solve this problem?
Okay, so in those bandit signs we see, you say we buy houses cash, okay, to whatever. Now, I guess that's what they're doing because obviously, I'm sure everybody's not running around with cash to buy these properties.
Well, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of cash buyers out there, but it's got to be a good deal. If you have a deal, I'll guarantee you, and that's what wholesalers, you can find out usually if you have a deal within the first couple of weeks because it'll sell. If it doesn't sell right away, it's probably not as good a deal as you might think. That's just my experience with it. Because if you got a deal, the money will hunt you down almost every time. So there's plenty of money out there. In fact, that's one of the things we're looking at doing after the first year, because there's so many homeless people, of maybe getting some people together and coming up with some projects, that to kind of help some of them. That has to be the right deal. But there's a lot of properties out there that people didn't buy them the right way. But see, then there's also ones that we have that they bought a few years ago while the interest rates were still low. And they still got problems, potential problems coming up, and they need somebody to take over their payments. That's one of the easiest ways to get a house, in my opinion. You just take over the payments from somebody and do that. I like to do it 90 or 120 days from the time we make our agreement. Because that gives me plenty of time to get in there, advertise it, get somebody else coming in and give me a down payment if I'm going to resell it, and then maybe make a couple, collect a couple of payments before I start making their payments. I've had that happen a few times. It doesn't always work though. Sometimes, they need the payment yesterday, and then that's a whole different conversation. Maybe you need to figure out if it's going to be a good deal for you. But the deal has to make sense. That's the main thing. You don't want to just get a free property because it's a free property. I got a whole file full of deeds people gave me on their properties that I'll never take the properties, just because of that. Then the fun thing is too, is I've got a stack of thank you notes too that people have given me, which I never expected. Thank you for taking this house from me, it just doesn't even make sense. Why would you give me a thank you note when you gave me your property? But they do. They didn't know what to do. And that's where it comes back to just trying to solve the problem, I talk about win-win-win deals because there's always at least three people involved, three parties, and you got to make it to where everybody wins or I just won't do it. It's just not worth it.
You really gave them peace of mind for them to give you a thank you. You really gave them peace of mind. So
yeah, and a handwritten one too, which is funny. Seems funny. Don't make sense, but you're helping them, and that's what it really, in my opinion, what it's all about.
So the ones that the people gave you the deeds to, you say you just holding on to them. I mean, what's going on with that?
They just didn't make sense. And not every deal makes sense,
So who owns the property then?
They do. I just didn't take it from them.
Oh, okay.
We never recorded it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you just have to tell them that. And a lot of these, what's kind of funny, a lot of them were, this goes back a few years, but a lot of these were landlocked lots and things like that. Nowadays, I would do something with those because in the past, I bought a couple of those like over the counter from some of the counties, and there wasn't no legal access to get there. But some of these in the neighborhoods, like in St. Louis County and City, you could actually sell those to the neighbors. because a lot of the times the neighbors are using those anyway. And what I've done with many of those is you sell it to them for $50 a month. You still actually have the deed to the property until you're satisfied that that they paid for it. But in the meantime, they're maintaining it. So I mean, there's a lot of good creative strategies you can use with those properties.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's
That's
smart.
good.
And a lot of times neighbors don't want houses built on those properties too, so they'll be more than happy to take them.
I've had neighbors actually get in fights because I bought the property in between them, and I sent a letter out to each one of them, and whoever responded first is what how I dealt with it. So I only had that happen once. That was down actually in Park Hills, and it was a property I paid like 170 something dollars for it, and I sold it for I put it up for cash for 5,000 or 5,500, and I offered it to both of the neighbors at $50 a month at 0% interest, and they both responded. But the first one that responded, I just sold it to them. And then the other one responded. They actually got mad at me because I was in the middle, and then got mad at each other because they didn't like each other anyway. So I don't know whatever happened. They paid it off. The $50 a month went on for however many years the 5,500 went for. But it was just kind of funny, but not really, because I'm not trying to, get the neighbors mad at each other because I mean we all live in the neighborhood. We want to be nice, but it was just so I'm a little more cautious now, I guess. But that's a great way to do it. You get a property really inexpensive, or get one to somebody give you one of those lots, sell it to the neighbor. A lot of times they're using it anyway. Now the danger is, and one thing you got to keep in mind with your due diligence is if they've been cutting the grass and maintaining it. I had that happen before too, where I bought the property and then we put up a for sale sign and they didn't know it was for sale or they would have bought it and they got mad and they quit cutting the grass. Well, depending on the municipality, you got to maintain these properties because if it gets over 8 inches or whatever, depending on where you're at, then they're going to cut it. Now you're going to get the bill, or you got to make arrangements to maintain it in the meantime. And I've had it happen both ways. So that's the thing you got to be aware of.
Yes, sir. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, lots are great though. I love building and camping lots. They're some of my favorite, and mobile home lots. Except mobile homes now, that cost you $180,000. And then you got to move it and do all kinds of stuff. It's gotten crazy. They used to be 20,000, So now they're manufactured homes. And a lot of them are very nice too. So,
Hey, John, quick question.
sure, Eric.
Are they going to still have the next month far as the Applebee's?
Yes. Yes, actually that's next week. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. Next week, I believe Friday is let's see here, the 5th. So Applebee's will be on the 1st, which will be this coming Monday. Let's see. Oh, we got a dental appointment. But yeah, it'll be at 11 o'clock at Applebee's from 11 to 1. And then next Friday will be we have Catherine Davis, our attorney, for Ask the Attorney. So she'll give us the updates coming up. I know typically anytime after Thanksgiving, if you got an eviction, and I hope you don't, coming up, it's one of the worst times to try to get into court. They're usually not taking anything, but she'll update us on some of that kind of stuff. And anything else that's going on with legislation and in city and county. She'll be here next week though for that. So yeah, but the lunch that will be December the 1st, and then the next one will be in January. So great question. And yes, I know that I don't know who will be there, but there will be somebody there. All right. Well, we've had a lot of good conversations today. Anybody else got anything you'd like to share with us? Any questions? Anything else anybody's working on? Everybody got leftover turkey? Yeah, we haven't had ours. We're celebrating ours today, so that'll be coming up. We got back from Ohio, not yesterday. I don't, yeah, 2 days ago. We had hamburgers yesterday. It was the best Thanksgiving that Laura and I have had in a long time. So it was perfect. So today we'll have our turkey and visit with the family and all that fun
Yeah,
stuff.
we've had those kind of Thanksgiving days before too. Those are the
Great
best
day.
ones. So
Yeah. Very relaxing because we just came back and yeah, on our way back from Ohio to I don't know if you've been in Indiana in a while, but in fact, we hit a pothole, and I don't even know why they would have potholes this time of year, but this thing was about 3 foot wide and about 2 foot long, and punctured one of our what was it the run flat tires. They're supposedly can't puncture, and it punctured it. So we had, of course, it was at 4 o'clock on Wednesday, day before Thanksgiving. So. Well, the guy, it was really couldn't have worked out any better. We got the tow truck driver. I guess it was from State Farm. The one they recommended came and got us. He knew right where to go. We had to have an appointment, but we found out where to go with Tire Place. They closed at 6. We got there about 4:45, and he was able to get us a whole new set of tires. And we were on the road by about 6:30, 6:45. They stayed a little bit late. We weren't the only ones, but they were working a little bit later. So we got back. We got back at 9:30 instead of like 7:01 like we were supposed to. And we were happy. We didn't have to go nowhere. Fortunately, we had hamburger and one potato, one onion, and a couple other things. And we had the best Thanksgiving ever. We just sat here relaxing, and Laura did some laundry and stuff. And we watched some football. I don't even think we watched it. It was just on. Or she watched it. She likes the Chiefs. Sorry. I didn't watch it. I was actually working on videos. Went and found Jason Schroer, the inspector that I was just talking about. And we've got about 30 or 35 short videos from him that I'm going to start putting out in the next couple of weeks. Really good information for St. Louis County inspector too. So he's somebody that gave us such good information, and the replay is over 2 hours from when he talked. But like I said, it's really hard, I know, for me too, to watch 2 hours in a row to take that much time, but you'll watch 3 minutes, that you can pick up a couple of good tips. So that's the kind of videos I'll be putting out. Yes, Dana.
James had a question, but I wanted to say it was probably the auto place that added the potholes off season. So.
Could be. Actually, I think it was the same hole that I seen about last year going to Vena's her national conference in Columbus there, because I seen a big hole that we avoided, but there was somebody in front of me, and right then, and by the time I seen it and noticed it was a hole, it was too late. I mean, this was the biggest hole I have ever seen on the highway. It was amazing, but they could have had something to do with it. You hope they didn't, and I don't know. This place they seem like a great place though too. I mean, it was a lot of workers there. It was being a little bitty town off the highway. I was really surprised.
Okay, I'm just joking, but
No, I know.
Sounds fishy.
You never know.
Go ahead, James.
John, could you spell that site? You said it's Administute or whatever.
AM Institute. It's American Marketing Institute. It's just simply
AM Institute.
aminstitute.com.
Okay.
They have other things on there, but I use the headline analogy to see who it appeals to, because they'll show you what percentage you appeal to, whether it's intellectual or spiritual or empathetic, and it depends on your audience, and if you're looking at somebody that's going to be in a retail person, you probably want to go more with the empathetic, or along that line, along with a little bit of intelligence. If you're looking at somebody like a real estate investor to do a wholesale deal, or somebody that's going to fix it up, you probably want to stay more on the intellectual part, how it appeals, because they look at numbers. I know with some of our groups, with my mentor, they tell you how to ask for, when you ask for money, there's a certain sequence, and we talked a little bit about that about 2 years ago, but you lead with the money and then you go back. Most people want to lead with their backstory when they go to ask for money. And the people that have the money, they don't care. First, they want to know how much you want, what's it for, when do I get my money back, and how much am I getting? That's the first thing you lead with. Then you go back, you talk about the project, then you talk about your experience and what you've done. And most of us go in there and do it the opposite way. So maybe we should talk, and maybe we'll do that more after the holidays. We'll go ahead and put together another little thing, and we'll talk about asking for money, because that's a whole sequence in itself, to do it the right way.
Sounds good.
Great, thanks.
You have anything else?
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, fun stuff. I love all this stuff, and you get into the psychological stuff. I know you guys were with our owner financing class that we had, and that's just a whole different way psychologically. The way you talk to people, we don't call them contracts. We call them agreements. You don't sign anything, you authorize it. I mean, it's just a whole different way of thinking. But that's the way that you kind of open stuff up without causing yourself problems. So, yeah, we can get into more of that stuff after the first year if you want to. I always love talking about it. Good stuff. But AM Institute, yeah, I can spend hours on that site redoing stuff, and I do it all the time. I know a lot of people use AI for stuff these days, and in my opinion, they use it the wrong way. People use it as a search engine, and that's really not what it's about. What I've done and what I've learned from my mentor is I make it John GPT. I talk to it and I teach it the way I think, and then I have conversations with myself on as the AI, and that's how I create all my content for things and my ads and things like that, depending on what I'm doing with it. And then I tell it when I don't think that way, and now it knows for next time how to deal, how to come up with different things creatively. And then eventually, after you get it, kind of get it trained on the way you do things, it makes it easier. But see, a lot of people, they use the AI, they just use like a search engine, and that's how you get the incorrect information, you know? Actually, I wrote an article. Actually, what I did, what an article is what I did for St. Patrick's Center not too long ago. And I had the conversation with myself on how I could add value to them and all that kind of stuff. And then I took the thing that I wrote, and I ran it through. There's a site that'll tell you if it's written by AI or, what the percentage of human it is. It came back completely 0% of AI. Zero. I made a screenshot of that because it was my stuff that I ran through my AI, and they didn't find any evidence of anything AI on it, which was very interesting. So just a different way of doing stuff. And it's not that I can do anything better. It's just, you work at it back and forth. I mean, I'm not trying to say I can write a perfect, content or anything like that. It's just by working back and forth, you can find out the stuff that works a little better. And you could do that yourself too. But a lot of people I see out there, they talk. In fact, I've taken some AI, some of the small courses and things that people have out there, and they just use it like, oh, you got to have the right prompts. Well, you're going to go down, in my opinion, go down a rabbit hole. You're going to waste a lot of your time on prompts because that's not really what it's all about. What do you want to do? What's your end result? What do you want? And to me, I want to have a good headline. Most of the headlines the conversation I have with myself, I don't like after I run it through the AM Institute, and then I go back and have another conversation until I get the one I want. So anyway, it's a little off the subject of our investments here, but it's a lot of fun though. Well, we're a little bit past the hour, so if anybody have anything else? If not, we'll go ahead and call it a day and come in next week. Good seeing you guys. And I thank you. And next week, all goes well. Catherine Davis, our attorney, will be here for Ask the Attorney. So get your legal questions together. And if nothing else, just come and listen and see what's going on in our area. So thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good rest of your Thanksgiving weekend.
Thank you.